couldn't make some of this stuff up, but I think it's important. I think it's important that we all understand why. I mean, look at San Diego. You have this wonderful, diverse population. You have 700 high-tech and biotech companies located here.
Yes.
And that started, I think, not only with Craig Venner's decision to locate his foundation down here, but the fact that I spent $3 billion of your tax money to sequence the human genome. That's the tomorrow economy. And it's not just in California. Yesterday, listen to this. I was at Morehead State in eastern Kentucky, 40 miles from the Ohio border and about that far away from West Virginia. Morehead State is one of 3 centers in the country that NASA has for nanotechnology in space. The others, I believe, are at MIT and Caltech. So I met all these people, graduates and undergraduates, freshmen from eastern Kentucky, leavened by one student from Ukraine and one from Vietnam. They're making nano satellites for $1 million. It costs, the average satellite costs $400 million to put up. They're about to send one in space to hook up and be located on the International Space Station. Now that's the tomorrow economy.
Yep.
And there's a place in that for everybody. When the president gave his last State of the Union address, it was a beautifully crafted and well-delivered speech, as all are, and it was factually accurate. He said, we should be upbeat about the future because America is in the best shape of any country for the 21st century. So why is the election so crazy? Because it has taken 10 years. We have 400 years of history, economic history. It has taken 10 full years for any country that suffered the kind of financial crash we suffered to get over it. We got our jobs back in 7 years. If we hadn't had so much political gridlock, we'd have gotten a lot of the incomes back too. But 80% of the people after inflation in the whole country are still living on the same or less than they were living on the day of the crash.
Yes.
So it has spawned a lot of understandable populist anger and passion in both parties and among people who are prepared to believe the whole political establishment is clueless. And so the trick in this election and the key to California's future is how to maximize all the positive forces that are flowing through our country and embodied in this crowd. We have the youngest, most diverse workforce in the world. We have the best system of higher education and training in the world. We just need to make it affordable and that manageable. And we've got the best science and technology base in the world. We have to be ranked first or second in the world in the capacity to generate energy from the sun and the wind and other clean sources to move the world away from climate change. Now that surprises nobody in California, but guess what? You know what the second state in the country is in the installation of solar panels? New Jersey.
Wow.
And they're going to get so cheap and so efficient that it'll become routine in every home in America. So when Hillary says, I'm going to put up 500,000 solar panels in the next 4 years, you should believe it. I think we can beat that goal if we do it. I held one of these nano satellites in my hand yesterday for $1 million. I felt a little nervous over $1 million. And one of the young students was saying, now we're doing a lot of this stuff with 3D printing on tungsten and other materials. And he said, won't be long until we'll be making solar panels with 3D printing, and then they'll be so cheap everybody can have them. We'll just do it in a hurry. And we'll think about something else. That's the future. But the present is that 80% of the people haven't gotten a raise, and half the American people after inflation are living on about what they were living on the day I left office. And there are some areas that are so depressed, working class Americans are desperate for themselves and their future.
Yes.
And that is what has fueled a lot of this. There's still a huge number of young Americans who got out of college with so much debt that they can't move out of their parents' house, much less take the job they want if it doesn't cover the debt payment.
That's right.
Much less ever get a loan to start their own business. So the trick is, how do you maximize the promise and minimize the peril? We have to have a strategy of shared prosperity, inclusive societies, and equal citizenship if we want to do that. And my case for Hillary is pretty simple. I think she has the best ideas to reduce inequality and increase opportunity. I think she is, as Bill's presence up here indicates, because of her services on the Armed Services Committee, because of her work in New York after 9/11, because of her work as Secretary of State on national security as well as diplomatic issues, I think she's the only person who can go in and do that part of the job. And I think we have to realize that we got to do the right things, but there are two things that could derail our progress. One is all the trouble in the rest of the world. The younger people here can't remember this, but when I came here, running for president in 1992, America had declining middle class incomes and rising poverty and increasing inequality because trickle-down economics doesn't work. You have to grow the economy from the middle out and the bottom up. The world had some problems. There was terrible ethnic problems in Bosnia. We had Somalia was beginning to show the outlines of what is now 3 full-fledged terrorist groups operating in Africa, which also is a good news story. They have 6 of the fastest growing economies in the world. But we had some problems, but nothing to compare with this. Is the European Union going to break up? What about all these countries dealing with the largest refugee flows since World War II that are deciding, countries that those of you of a certain age helped to liberate through the long Cold War, are now deciding, well, maybe they don't like democracy so much. It's a lot of trouble. Maybe we should all be governed like Putin runs Russia. Of course not, but I'm just telling you, when things get out of hand, people get scared. And they look for automatic, simple answers. There's a lot of trouble in the world. Our neighbors to the south, especially in Central America and South America, we have very good trade relations with them, good trade balances with them. The biggest one, Brazil's in terrible trouble. They're going through not only political upheaval, which can be good for them, but they depend upon the sale of farm products and other natural resources that are in less than planned because of the global downturn. China's in a lot of trouble. And so they're under a lot of pressure to try to push their smaller neighbors around, including Vietnam, where we fought a long war, and which is now our #1 ally in Southeast Asia. And the Philippines, there are a lot of Asian American Pacific Islanders here. And I think this is trouble.